Hello, wonderful people. Welcome back to the channel. I pray you all are doing well by the grace of God. So today, let's talk about the Ralph Lauren's latest collection, which is called the Bluff collection. This collection has sparked a wave of reactions across the Black community, while others are calling it cultural appropriation. Others are saying it's a celebration of Black excellence, heritage, and elevated style. Well, as for me and today's video, we are taking a closer look at what's the story behind this collection and why is it so divisive and what can we learn from the conversation it has sparked. So let's dive into the reactions and the reality.
By Ralph Lauren and their collection, specifically the Howard and Spellman collection, they've been doing for a few years now. They just put out another one that, of course, has the Morehouse and Spellman emblems on them, but it's more representative of Black elegance and opulence. And it's the Oak Bluffs collection because it's celebrating Black folks who would visit Martha's Vineyard at a specific area that was designated for Black folks. And now that time has passed, it's still a historic place where Black folks go in Martha's Vineyard. But what Ralph Lauren does with these collections is so special because this isn't something that is and not saying anything's wrong with DEI, but I'm saying this is not a DEI thing. This is not affirmative action. This is not somebody just feeling like feeling sympathetic for Black folks. Ralph Lauren is by far and clearly the most recognizable and important and influential American clothing brand ever. Ralph Lauren is Americana, period. And Ralph Lauren understands that the Black American experience is just as Americana. That's what makes this so amazing. And there's a young brother named James M. Jeter who attended Morehouse College and graduated from Morehouse College, who is the creative director of Ralph Lauren and leads on this project. And it is not, again, for those reasons I stated earlier, is because he is competent, qualified, graduated from Morehouse College, and is fully aware of the story that he is telling through these pieces and collections. This is special. This is accurate. This is done correctly, with honor, with pride.
So this is my family and I in Oak Bluffs, the same Oak Bluffs that inspired the Ralph Lauren Oak Bluffs collection. This collection isn't Black elitism, it's Black history. This collection depicts Black joy, Black leisure, and Black wealth, and that is also a part of our story. And if you have an issue with this campaign, it's probably more about you than Ralph Lauren because you're so used to seeing Black people's experience being depicted by struggle.
Watching the response to Ralph Lauren's new Oak Bluff collection has been one of the most disappointing and wildest things I've seen on social media in a long time. The same people who love music and films about twerking, gangbanging, unaliving people, prostitution, and a bunch of other degenerate behaviors all of a sudden have a problem now with our image being portrayed as this. Y'all scroll the shade room, watch baddies every single day, and don't have a single complaint, but all of a sudden, this is an issue. And I'm seeing people say things like, this doesn't represent us as a people, and I'm so confused because I'm like, what are y'all talking about? Black people have always had pride and dignity when it comes to their fashion and appearance. And this is a prime example. So this is my great-great-great-grandfather right here in the middle. This is my great-great-grandfather, and this is my grandmother's twin brother. These two men here were born in the 1800s. He was born in the early 1930s. This picture was taken in the early 1950s. And these were sharecroppers. These were not wealthy men. But as you can see from their appearance, these are sharp gentlemen. They got on overcoats, suits and ties, nice fedora-style hats. They dress with a sense of pride, respect, and confidence. And what people don't understand is this was the norm in the Black community prior to the 1970s. This is a picture of Black people in the 1930s. And look at their appearance. Dressed nicely, professionally. They all seem like they got a sense of confidence and pride in their appearance. What people don't know is this style of dressing, it didn't change until the late 1970s. The Civil Rights Movement gave birth to a new style of Afrocentrism. People started wearing dashikis, afros, leather jackets. It was a different statement of pride at the time. But even then, there was always a class of Black people that maintained that classy, professional, preppier look. And then when the 1980s came and hip hop was on the rise, that's when we see the style kind of make a whole 180. And that's when you start to see more tennis shoes, baggier clothes, gold chains. And a large part of this happened because by this time, a lot of the black families were being torn apart. And a lot of the fathers wasn't in the home anymore due to the crack epidemic, the welfare system, mass incarceration, and all that impacted how people viewed themselves and their appearance. So this emerged as a rebelliousness and a buck against the system. But even then, through all of that, you still had a class of black people in those times that still prioritized the classy, sophisticated aesthetic, which is why you had shows like The Cosby's, which was the #1 show in America at that time, and probably why it was created, because he still wanted people to have their pride in feeling professional, looking professional, and acting classy and sophisticated. And that leads us to today, where the average black person, still to this day heavily influenced by hip-hop culture, dresses in streetwear and designer labels. But even then, there's always been a class of black people that always prefer to dress more classy, traditional, and sophisticated. And that brings us back to this. The reason why so many of us have a problem with this aesthetic and this appearance being shown to the world as a representation of us is because many of us believe that dressing classy is an attempt of trying to be white. And it's because we don't know the history that I just explained. Too many of us, we only associate blackness with criminality, poverty, and struggle. And if any of those things aren't in a representation, we feel like that's not us. That doesn't signify or represent us. When the reality is, no people, period, in the world are a monolith, but black people specifically, we not a monolith. Even though majority of us do make less than $50,000 a year annually, there still has always been a large class of black people that are affluent. And even for those that aren't well off, there has always been a class of black people, even the ones in poverty. It's always been a class of black people that aspire to be affluent and aspire to look, dress like this, and have this kind of lifestyle. And it has nothing to do with wanting to be white or wanting white acceptance. So this new polo collection is not just a random thing that doesn't make sense. It's an ode to our history and our tradition. And that's not for everybody. Some of y'all, I know some of y'all just love streetwear, and there's nothing that's gonna change that. A lot of y'all obsessed with designer labels, and there's nothing that's gonna change that. But there's still a huge segment of black people that appreciate and love this style of clothing. And it's a lot of them, including myself. If you're not into class, sophistication, tradition, this right here, this collection, it ain't for you.
People are losing the plot about this Ralph Lauren collection because they see this picture and they see wealth instead of people. And it's funny to me because I saw this picture and the first thing I saw was this jacket, this patchwork jacket. And anyone who knows anything about Black history, especially Black American history, will see that that's the most important thing in this whole collection. And you can tell that the people behind the collection thought similarly because they repeat the use of this jacket in the patchwork quilt motif throughout the collection. I don't know about anyone else, but what came to mind immediately for me was the, patchwork quilts that came from slavery, that came from our ancestors who, put work into these quilts to kind of, according to the mythology we've created, use these to, outline the path to escape slavery. And so I think that there's some significance in that as we're looking at this as a collection of folks who came from those same folks. And especially if we're highlighting the kind of Gilded Age era where Oak Bluff started to be a thing, which is kind of what's highlighted through the collection in terms of like what era they're drawing upon primarily. It was people who are one or two generations removed from making quilts such as this. For those who aren't aware, you can see, through this vague key that there are different messages encoded in different, patterns that people put into the quilts themselves. You can see a bit of it in this article here, which I can't post properly because I don't know how to use TikTok, but people use these to kind of give directions on the route north. Say this one here was an example of, this here is a symbol of a monkey wrench, which is a symbol for a freedman, an African-American blacksmith back in the day who could travel between plantations. Someone to look out for if you were someone who was looking to escape to freedom, who might know something or might be able to help you in some way. And so this is a legacy I thought we all knew. But I guess, not everybody has been schooled in Black history. This is something we knew from elementary school. We went through different sections on this. I don't know, maybe Massachusetts, the educational standards are different. But this is the first thing that came to mind when I saw that patchwork jacket. I saw it and immediately connected it to heritage, which is why I think it's interesting they used it in pictures like this, where they're showing that not only use of the motif, but how it connects to the literal lineage of the folks who would be using said quilt, said jacket, said lore. And so if we're talking about this collection, I think it's a real miss not to talk about it in that context, because that's how they're using it. That's how they're putting together the collection. Not to say, hey, we are Black folks removed from those low-class Negroes down south or whatever. They're saying we have a direct relationship with the folks that we came from. And that's literally what they're talking about in the actual description up there. It's quite annoying that this is not showing properly, but even in the description for the products, they're talking about it as, the building blocks, of the cherished values that we carry through generations that, bring together things like education, friendship, and literally our journey to freedom. And so to talk about this in the context of Black elitism really misses the point entirely. You're subtracting the humanity. Oftentimes in, leftist circles, we end up kind of looking at things through the lens of capitalism and capitalism only, which I don't think people realize alienates a lot of folks, not only because they don't like talking about capitalism, but because they feel dehumanized by such rhetoric, because they're like, hey, I have agency as a human being, and I am first and foremost a human rather than just a tool within a system. And so I think we need to remind ourselves that we are people first and people with money second. Like, if you see this and think of the price tag, which is around $1,200, which is a little bit ridiculous for this, I'm not gonna lie, but hey, make your money. Donate it to the United Negro College Fund, as they are. If you see this and your first thought isn't, those are my people, this collection isn't for you. And that goes for rich, poor, everybody. If you see this literal symbol that connects us to the people who escaped on the Underground Railroad, you're missing the plot. You're missing the plot entirely. So I want to take us back to the original kind of setup here, the original montage they put together. And I want to look at this verbiage they've used. Oak Bluffs has its own distinct brand of summer sophistication, channeling a jubilant self-expression in the relaxation quintessential to seaside destinations. It's just people being happy, guys. People being happy in a place that they feel safe. A place where they could go and relax during the summer, take some time off in August, and be together with other Black people in community, and come together and share their history, share their legacy with people who understand. And if you see that as elitist, if you see that as something that you don't understand, I think you're a bit lost. And I think you might have to have a discussion with the CIA or something. Because as Black folks, we need to remember ourselves and remember community, especially at this time where we are under attack. Something I often think about is how we have a lost generation in the Black community. The crack epidemic really, really did a number on us. And I'm not just saying in the jokey, the CIA one way. I mean in the very serious, very sad, the CIA one kind of way. Because we didn't just lose people. We didn't just lose, sanity. We lost connection to our past. Because this history, this legacy is passed down through family lineage. And what the crack epidemic did is it really, really, really cemented those cracks in the Black community that the CIA and the government had been trying to put in since the 60s to try to destabilize us. And so this really harkens back to what we lost, what they've trying to take from us. And to say that it's a bad thing, I don't think I can get behind that. Because this is who we are. This quilt right here is our legacy. It's the history we've built in this country, in the history of our success in the face of adversity. And if you focus only on the struggle part, you're never going to see the success, what the struggle was for, what the struggle was working towards. And if you see that end result as something bad, I think you need to question yourself. I think you need to question why you think that.
Whether you see Oak Bluff as appropriation or appreciation, one thing is clear. Fashion is never just about clothes. It depicts a history, an identity, and how we are seen. So let's keep the conversation going in the comments. Do you see this as honoring the culture or cashing in on it? Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more honest conversation and cultural deep dives. Until next time, bye.